RC from the Mountaintop Joiner Shop here. I've been asked more times than I care to recount to build something simple, modern, with clean lines. Oh, and our budget's about $500. We'll set aside that last part for the time being, but we'll come back to it later because it offers an important insight of its own. Back up a little more. Simple, modern, with clean lines. Where did these catchwords come from and why can't I seem to escape them? As you might guess, inquiries like this have begun to irk me, and because I've been hearing these catchwords for years, I've likewise had years to think about them and why they irk me. That's what this video is about. Let's address the elephant in the room right off the bat. Whether people realize it or not themselves, when they ask me for something simple, modern, with clean lines, they're asking for mid-century modern design, or some bastardized iteration of it. I have to admit that there are, in fact, things to be said in favor of MCM. Setting aside the fact that mid-century modern is no longer either of those things, there's a level of accessibility there for new and aspiring woodworkers that many other styles simply just don't have. Because it's largely devoid of intentional decoration, exposed joinery, and the like, it can be constructed by any competent woodworker without a huge complement of tooling. Buy some pretty lumber and make it into a huge box. In this style, you can put large cases on some spindly little metal stilts, and nobody will bat an eye, despite the fact that proportionally, it's like putting chicken legs on a hippopotamus. Apply a not very protective finish on it that's close to the wood and lets the wood speak for itself, and voila! You very well may have something you can point to with pride and say, I made that. That's important for anyone to be able to say, well, in the midst of a creative pursuit. But did you notice what I did there? I said in the midst of a creative pursuit, implying that there should be a next thing, a new challenge, a new learning opportunity. That should logically come next. If you were a beginning drummer and just learned how to play that famous opening beat from When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, I'd be the first in line to applaud you for it. Rock on, man. But if you're content to never even try to play anything else, I have to admit, I just don't understand that. Yes, it was a pat on the back I just gave you, but it was also a gentle nudge forward. Going forth and exploring some of the ins and outs of other styles was instrumental to my development as a furniture maker, and as a drummer, if we're to continue using that analogy. And I couldn't recommend that approach enough to anyone in the early stages of any creative pursuit. Keep challenging yourself, and who knows how far you'll go. Mid-century modern offers an historically unique accessibility on the consumer side of things as well. And that's not such a bad thing. Everybody needs furniture. MCM's generally simple construction lends itself to mass manufacture and economies of scale, making it affordable to the so-called everyman. If you can afford to buy furniture at all, you can probably afford to buy MCM, or something pretending to be it. Also, because of the simple boxy nature of MCM case construction, it can not only be manufactured cheaply, but shipped cheaply, i.e. partially disassembled, and its completion can be executed at the other end by the consumer, with some of the cost savings passed on to said consumer. Flat pack furniture is born, and it's brilliant. Or is it? It comes direct to the consumer from a factory halfway around the world in a startlingly compact box. The consumer opens it up, spreads the parts out on the floor, grabs the little wrench and the manual that came with it, and assembles a coffee table. It can be pointed to and exclaimed, albeit half-jokingly, I made that! Furthermore, it's simple, modern, with clean lines. When it's all said and done, the typical middle to upper income consumer in America may still have enough money left over for a 60-pack of toilet paper rolls, a house with more rooms in it than get used with any regularity, on a lot with more lawn that gets tread upon except maybe to mow, and a garage with 2 cars in it. One car for in case it snows, massive enough to get in an accident without injury, and is there in case I need to go off-road. And another car that gets the consumer to and from work for $60K more than necessary. But hey, to be fair, it's a lease, and it makes the driver look successful, and that's super important. Later, in a fortunate turn of events that will allow the consumer to afford to buy even more things, the consumer moves to a new, bigger house for a new, better-paying job. And this brings us back to the aforementioned coffee table, which gets bumped a little hard when the movers are packing the truck, and one of the legs just straight up breaks off. Efforts to repair it fail because it turns out it wasn't made of solid wood, but particle board, which doesn't seem to hold glue well at all. Somewhat ironic given the volume percentage of particle board as glue in the first place. Thus, the consumer has consumed a piece of furniture. At this point, the consumer may come to you and say, I'm thinking about asking you if you would build a coffee table for me. You know, something simple, modern, with clean lines. I like walnut. Would you be willing to do it for $400? When this happens to me, my initial visceral reaction is something like this. But then I compose myself and I try to let them down easily. I explain that just the wood costs almost that much, and by the time I built it using proper joinery techniques, I have to charge much more for it than if you were to buy a factory-made piece. If you're okay with that, I'm happy to discuss this in greater detail with you, but in purely economic terms, you might be better served by going to the furniture store instead. We as woodworkers often lament the fact that craft value in regards to furniture seems to go wholly unappreciated these days. But here's the thing. I'm not entirely convinced that's true. Maybe it's just the social media circles I frequent, but there seem to be an awful lot of memes on the interwebs depicting spectacular displays of craftsmanship, without the proper credit given to the original maker, of course. And everyone seems to say, wow, that's amazing! Hey Bob, come check this out! So I think maybe the problem isn't that people don't appreciate craft value, but that, speaking very generally, it's just not a priority for them to have in their lives. They'd rather have the Beamer, the huge untrammeled front lawn, and the 60-pack of toilet paper. So what is the point I'm trying to make here? The point is, I'm not entirely sure what the point is. I mean, I'm pretty sure I had something in mind when I started writing this. Well, fuck it. Let's go build some furniture. Now, if you like what you saw here, please hit like and subscribe. It would help me out a lot. Also hit the little bell icon if you want to be notified anytime I release a new video. And if you didn't like what you saw here, keep it to yourself, pal. Or watch one of my other videos. You might like one of those. Thank you for watching.